Welcome to Larford Lakes for this year's Golden Rod feeder final. After 6 months and 22 qualifiers across different venues, we've now got 66 finalists that are here this weekend to compete for a first prize of £10,000.
It's been a great buzz this year on the Golden Rod. It's been brilliant, all the qualifiers, everybody's been as good as gold. It's been a great series. Current holder of the trophy, Steve Brindley.
Yeah, what you got?
That's nice, what you got.
All right.
One off the best peg.
Alright, 24 specimen.
Fancy it?
Maybe, we'll see. I can't lead that.
Match 6.
Match 6, fancy it?
I'd rather be one over in the middle zone, but yeah, I'll still fancy it for a few.
You fancy a draw, Dave?
I'm alright, mate. I think I've drawn Specie 18, top there, end peg, so I can't complain about that.
Match 28,
Fancy it?
middle section, it's fair section in it, so I'm not in wet end peg, so I'm happy with that, Jamie.
All of the anglers have drawn their pegs for the first day of competition, so let's hear from event organiser and fishery owner Phil Briscoe.
What's my feelings generally? Well, I've got to say that Phil Canning's drawn well on the match lake. He's drawn peg 1. That's normally a form peg. I didn't fish so well yesterday though, so strange things do happen, but really end pegs always play a main part in this. Stuart Fotheringham drawn well as well. Stuart is on the match lake peg 33, which is a known end peg here on the match lake, wins lots of matches. Match lake B section, hard one to call really. I would say that's open to literally anybody. C section, again that's wide open. Alex Walker's not drawn so bad on peg 18. Jason Cawthorne will be in with a shout on 22, I think. The fishing for points today, if you win the section you get 1, if you come low in the section you get the low points. You need to get the lowest score you can. Onto the Specie Lake, this is going to be an interesting competition indeed.
What do you think you draw, mate?
I'm in with 2 really strong end pegs. You've got Chemek, probably one of the best anglers on the venue.
Yeah.
On peg 1.
Yeah.
£200 off it yesterday.
Yeah.
Can't see him making a mistake. You've got, I think Rob Cooks is on the end over there. Another great guy at the venue. Mr. Ringer, best in the world over there. So yeah, I'm sort of damage limitation maybe.
Chemek Solsky, previous Golden Rod winner, very good angler, has drawn peg 1. Now yesterday we had a practice match and off peg 1 it was actually won off peg 1 with 200 and odd pounds. So you know, that peg, Chemek's on a flyer of a peg there. Rob Cooksey also, Rob knows the lake well, local lad, he's drawn end peg 33 on the Specie, so he's going to be dangerous. Really can't call it on E section, I really can't. Charlie Simpson, peg 17, previous winner. Hard one to call most of the sections, but the flyer pegs there we've just gone through, you know, there's good anglers on them, so it's going to be a great match. If the anglers use the common sense, particularly on the Specie, wherever they may draw, they need to look at catching bream and skimmers, and there's loads of them. It's not all about carp. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Stu Fotheringham first 20 minutes. It's his second fish. Stu's got off to a great start, but there were very few fish caught in this first section on Match Lake, so we headed over to Specie Lake and it was pretty much the same over there. Over on Shallybank, Dave Wood on the end peg 18, he'd got 4 or 5 skimmers quite early, but it was evident that that end section was going to be fishing hard. Max had also caught 3 or 4 skimmers early on, and it looked like, as predicted, there weren't going to be any early carp caught over on that far bank on Specie Lake. Well, as expected, that first hour has been really slow, and surprisingly not only here on Match Lake but over there on Spessy Lake as well. We've hardly seen any fish caught on the grass bank of Match Lake, except for the early pegs down there, down where Stu Fotheringham is and Phil Canning, down on those two end pegs. We've been over onto Spessy Lake and it's fishing hard over there, but I'm going to head over to the shallow bank now. We've heard that there's been one or two carp caught early over on that far bank towards the end peg where Rob Cooksey is and Steve Ringer, so we're going to head on over there just to find out what's being caught over there. We know that there's one or two carp being caught, but more importantly we just need to get a feel for how many of those skimmers and bream may be showing in these early stages. We think we're going to see people go for those fish at some stage over there on Spessy Lake, because if you can get those going, you know, it's quite easily to put 40-50 pound of those together, and that can really just help boost people's weights, where hopefully they're going to be targeting carp a little bit later on. However, over here on Match Lake it is still very, very slow going into this second hour.
We're over on Spessy Lake now in front of the chalets, and as you can see the wind's blowing straight in here. It's completely different from how it is over on Match Lake. Steve Ringer is ticking over, he's just underarming a method feeder at short range and he's catching skimmers and the odd better stamp bream as well. But it's Rob Cooksey on this MPEG who's leading this section at the moment. He's had a couple of early carp on the method feeder just to his right at short range, but he has got a long margin here to explore a little bit later on. But as we predicted, the bream and the silverfish are going to prove important in this section. However, we do know that there are carp in this section that have been caught this week well into double figures, so those obviously we're expecting to make some sort of an appearance at some stage.
Well, we're 90 minutes in and we're just back over on the grass bank of Match Lake. We're just watching George Robinson on the MPEG playing a fish. It's still quiet on both lakes, to be fair, in this first 90 minutes.
At this stage we know George is doing pretty well at this top end of Match Lake. We think he's got 3 fish now. Alex Walker opposite him has got a couple of fish as well. However, Jamie Snedker has got some fish in front of him, but he's really having a hard time trying to get them out. He's lost 3 fish already. However, he has managed to land 3 fish, but in the areas where he's got to go and try and catch those fish, that is where there are snags and features, which is making it difficult for him to land these fish. Over to his right on peg 20 is U-Knot. We know that he's caught a couple of fish. However, on his right, which is the second from end peg, we know that Adam Rooney is ticking over, just catching the odd fish, but in such a hard section, that's really all you need to do at this stage.
We're just approaching the halfway stage now and we're behind Sam Brown over on the grass bank of Match Lake. To his left is Andy Power, but it's really hard for these next few pegs here. Phil Canning down there on peg 1 is the only one who's put any sort of numbers of fish together. As you can see, he's playing a fish now as well. We know he's got at least 5 or 6 fish at this stage, which we know it's not mega, but it's certainly the best on this section. The only other angler to get anywhere near him is Stu Fotheringham, who's on that other end peg over there. But Sam's into a fish now. It looks like it's a good fish as well with the way he's playing it. But some of these other anglers here literally haven't even had a bite yet. Just 2 to the right of Sam is Matt Benwell. We've just spoken to him, and just coming up to this halfway stage, he hasn't even had a bite yet. That's how hard it's fishing. Hopefully Sam will land this one. He's no stranger to this venue. It looks like a good fish with how long he's been playing it. That's a lovely fish today, especially in this hard section. Phil Canning down on peg 1 has landed that fish he was just playing, so we know he's got at least 5 or 6. That's a good fish as well. And with that being an end peg, obviously you'd fancy that to get stronger. And I know he's catching a lot of his fish casting down into that corner. And the other angler opposite him, who's in the same section, is Stu Fotheringham over there. He had a great start. He had 4 fish really quite early. but it has slowed down on him, but we think he's got at least 5 fish. So these are the 2 leaders in this section at the halfway stage. We are just approaching the halfway stage, and whilst, you know, there are probably a handful of people who've managed to put a few fish in the net, there are anglers in between who are really struggling. We've got 1 or 2 anglers just down here, haven't even had a bite yet, and some of the anglers here going up the grass bank on Match Lake, they've literally only caught 2 or 3 skimmers. It is obviously still early days. The end pegs are catching 1 or 2 fish, but they're not exactly running away with it. The end peg up there, George Robinson, right at the top end, up there, he's caught 4 fish at this stage. Opposite him is Alex Walker. We think he's got 2 or 3 carp, and then next to him is Jamie Snedker. Jamie's not having a great time, to be fair. He's lost 3 fish already, but he has managed to land 5 fish. So we possibly think he's winning that end section. Over on Spessy Lake, again, there are 1 or 2 carp starting to show over on that far bank where, in front of the chalets, where Rob Cooks is and Steve Ringer. But you get literally just 3 or 4 pegs to the left of where they are, and there are anglers there still struggling. Anglers like Nick Speed, up until an hour ago, had only got 1 skimmer, and then the anglers going along the middle of that chalet bank are literally just trying to catch a few skimmers. Going towards the end of that section on the end peg is Dave Wood. Dave Wood, up until possibly 3/4 of an hour ago, was winning that section, but he literally only got about 12 pound of skimmers basically, and that was winning that top section. But as always, when you've got sections that are as hard and as tight as this, you literally only need 1 good fish to get you back in it. So it really is wide open going into this second half. We're seeing 1 or 2 fish showing down at this bottom end now. Stu Fotheringham's just had 1, so we think he's got at least 5 or 6. Phil Canning opposite him here on peg 1, he's got at least 6 fish, so it's very close between these lads. And there's another fish being played over there now. That wind's blowing across there, as you can see. But with the exception of these 2 end pegs, this section is really tight. A lot of the anglers here just fishing literally 4 or 5 metres down the edge. It is a little bit deeper over there down that margin than what it is over here on the grass bank, so there is a little bit of extra depth over there. But all the way around the lakes, that's where a lot of people are fishing. You know, they're focusing on that 5-6 metre line, even over on Spessy Lake with a method feeder. The big difference is that the anglers that are doing that over on Spessy Lake are catching the odd skimmer or bream whilst they're actually targeting the carp on the method. So whilst, you know, they are targeting carp, even if they're not catching them, they are putting something in the net. But that's a good stamp fish. But over here on Match Lake, it is different. There aren't as many bream in this lake. Well, we are into the final 90 minutes, and I'm back over here on Chalet Bank on Spessy Lake. And you know, whilst there are 1 or 2 more carp being caught, they're being caught by people that have already caught carp. So where Shemmick is over on peg 1, on the burr, peg 1, he's now got 3 carp now. However, Andy Lakey, peg 2 next to him on his right, he's now got 5 carp, and Simon Fry on peg 3, who's on his right, he's now got 2 carp. Opposite them, however, is one of the early leaders of that section, which is Rob Cooksey. He's now got 8 carp on end peg 33 in front of the chalets, so he's winning that section with 8 carp. And next to him, Steve Ringer, he's still only got 1 carp, but he's admitting to about 20 pound of skimmers to go with that carp as well. Going to the left of Steve, there's just the odd single carp, but that's it. As soon as you get around the middle part of this section, like where we are coming up to now here, it's all about the skimmers. This middle section, we thought skimmers and bream were going to be winning this middle zone on Spessy Lake. However, Zach Williams down there has just had a phone call who's fishing. He's admitting to about, he thinks he's got about 15 pound, I think. Opposite him, someone's just rang him to let him know that there are 3 carp caught over there. Somebody's got 3 carp, so that will definitely be winning that middle zone going into this final 90 minutes. Over on Match Lake, we've just heard that Alex Walker could possibly be winning that section up on the end peg where he was casting down to the tree with about 38 pound he was admitting to. Next to him is Jamie Snedker. He is admitting to around 30 pound, who we knew had caught some fish early on. And then after the gap, the second peg in, is Adam Rooney, who was admitting to about 33 pound. So whilst we think Alex Walker is winning that end section,
that section is really tight. Walking back down the shallow bank, and Zach Williams there's into another fish. Looks like it's another skimmer. He has got a carp to go with that. The downside to feeding a margin line in such shallow water. The carp in this end section have remained elusive, and Rob's done a fantastic job today, just ticking over, putting skimmers in the net, and I think we are going to see, particularly in this section, how important those bream are going to be. Well, we're into the last few seconds now, and we're over here on the shallow bank of Spessy Lake, and we've been over here for the last 10-15 minutes, and it's very quiet. All we've seen is the odd skimmer caught. We haven't seen any carp caught over here at this top end of this section. There are most anglers going for carp now in these last few minutes, you know. This is when you'd expect to catch, and it's just been the odd skimmer, but obviously every single fish is going to be important in this section. With it being so hard, those skimmers, any odd potential bream is obviously going to make a huge difference, and it's going to be interesting to see what... There we go, that's the final hoot, that's 4 o'clock. It's going to be interesting to see how important those skimmers and bream are going to be, especially over here at this top end of Spessy Lake. Now, whilst there were plenty of carp caught around the complex, it generally was confined to certain areas, which meant that those all-important bream were going to prove vital going into the second day of competition. Here is the full list of all of the competitors in points order, but also with their weights beside them. So you can see the end of day standings going into the second and final day. Well done yesterday, mate. Where do you fancy today?
I'm the only person. There's the obvious pegs, 133, or maybe in the middle section, just a fair area would be nice.
Well done yesterday, mate. Where do you fancy today? You're off to Spessy Lake, aren't you?
33.
Oh, you know exactly where you want to go?
Yeah.
Yeah? Anywhere else?
33.
Rob, well done yesterday, mate. On 1 point, you're off to Match Lake today. Where do you fancy?
End peg, obviously.
Which end peg? You've got quite a few on that lake.
Shallow end up this end will be ideal today.
Well done yesterday, pal.
Thank you, mate. Cheers.
You're off to Spessy today, mate. Anywhere in particular you fancy?
Just a safe area will do, I think. So we never know. We're only halfway. An end would be lovely, but I don't want to count me chicken sort of thing. So we'll see what happens.
It's day 2 here at Larford Lakes, and we've now got 6 section winners from yesterday who are all on 1 point. We've done the draw. Some of them have drawn areas that they're quite fancy, but some of them we think may have drawn out of it, because we're expecting either a 3 or possibly even a 4 point score, having a chance of winning this year's tie. We're going to be keeping an eye on obviously section winners, the anglers that were second in section, and in some cases anglers who were third in their section yesterday. So now the draw's done, we know who to keep our eye on, and the weather is much better today. Expecting it to fish a little bit better. The anglers have changed lakes. The anglers that were on Match Lake yesterday are over on Spessy, and vice versa. And we've got a few anglers who are fancying their draws, but some of them are not so keen. Hey, any good, mate?
Morning.
What's your draw?
29 on Spessy.
Ah, go on then. What do you reckon?
Got to go for it. Got to fish for carp.
Thank you.
Yeah, not brilliant.
You're not convinced?
Not sure.
What number? What number?
It's not an end peg.
Okay, all right.
I'll get a few bites, so that's all that matters.
Well, good luck.
Thank you.
I've drawn 3 on match.
Oh, you don't look very happy about that, mate.
Not very happy.
No.
I'm fishing for probably 3 points at best.
I'm hoping it's gonna be a great day. What I feel as Kenny has won I think the match of this pack.
Yep.
I'm hoping to copy him.
What do you think, Nick?
Different day to yesterday. A lot warmer, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, although it was pretty hard on the Match Lake, I quite fancy it for a few fish. It's quite warm. It's going to be crucial making the most of that last hour. Definitely catch some fish down the edge, and that's how you win your section and see what happens.
We've been fishing 10 minutes, we're down here at the bottom end of Match Lake. We're actually behind Christoph, who started fishing with a method feeder down to his left hand side. And opposite him is Mark Story. He's fishing literally off the end of his rod, really close in, and Nick Speed is on his left, he's over there. However, these first 10 minutes, we haven't seen a single fish caught down at this bottom end. There aren't any fish showing either. The only angler that we've seen catch any fish up to now in these first few minutes is small fish there by the looks of it, peg 3. But then as we pan up there, it's the angler on peg 9. We've just seen the angler up there who looks like Matt Pilley on peg 9. He's the only one that we've seen catch a fish in these few minutes, except for this small one just on our left on peg 3, which is what Rob's just caught. So as expected, just like yesterday, it's another slow start. We are 20 minutes in, and the first decent fish to be hooked is Christoph down on peg 1. He's casting that method feeder right the way down to the tree. Not quite as big as what we thought it was going to be, but he's got to negotiate that reed bed in front of him. So he's off the mark. See the reeds there, his line is literally running almost through them because he's been casting down to that overhanging tree just there. So he's Christoph's off the mark. We've been fishing 26 minutes, and whilst we've just seen Christoph net a small fish casting down to that tree there, Christoph's on peg 1. On this end peg opposite him is Mark Story. He's actually into a fish now. This looks a good fish. He's been playing it for a minute or so now. He started literally right at the end of his rod, literally just underarming it really quietly with a small method feeder. And this looks like it's a bigger fish than what Christoph caught, which will put him in front in this section if he lands it. That's definitely a better quality fish. So he's off the mark now, approaching the end of this first 30 minutes. Well, we are right on the first hour. We've just made our way round to here to the we're actually on the shallow bank of Spessy Lake. That wind is freezing. Andy Kinder, his second one in from the end. That's the end peg there on the tree where Dave Wood was yesterday. And he's been struggling really in this first hour. He's only had 2 skimmers, and they're literally about 8 ounce a piece. He's playing this one as though it could be a carp. Paul Wright on his right, he's had 6 or 7 big skimmers on that short line, 6 meters, with a method feeder. Yeah, Andy's playing this as though it's a decent fish, and he's going to do what he does. You know, he's not going to bother fishing for skimmers or bream. He's going to stick to the method feeder. He's going to fish for carp. He knows this lake as well as anybody, and he's very, very good at picking out those bigger carp as well on this lake. He drew opposite here. Well done, mate. Tench! There we go. I didn't expect that. That is a very rare catch on this lake. But it's an extra few pound in the neck. Settles him in a little bit. Look at that beauty. Let's have a look. That's a rare one, that one, mate. An out of season tench. Well done, pal. So, Andy's going to stick to what he's going to do. You know, he's going to stick to a method feeder, fish for carp. He drew opposite here, over there on the end peg in the practice match on Friday, and one of the carp he caught was 23 pound. So it gives you an idea of how big some of these carp are in here. So Andy's made his mind up. He knows exactly what he's going to do. He's just going to stick to fishing for carp for the full 5 hours. And as we just pan round, Wright is into another one. Wright is just underarming a method feeder, short range. I don't honestly know if he's doing that exclusively to try and catch a carp, and these are all accidents, or whether he's you know, fishing it with a bait or in a way that it's a catch anything sort of a method. But at 6 meters he's likely to hook anything. Good stamp those, aren't they? They are skimmer stroke bream fish. So he must have a pretty decent weight already in this first hour if he's got 7 or 8 of those. But he's just on that underarming line. Just have a look where Andy's casting. I think he's gone to that 20 metre sort of, yeah, 20 metres, just looking for a fish. And then righty just underarming. Method feeder, as you can see, just there. We're over on the shallow bank of Spessy Lake now. We've just had a bit of an update of what's happened all the way through this section, which I'll obviously let you know about in a moment. We're currently behind Steve Curtis. Now we've only been fishing just over an hour, and he's just admitted to me that he's caught 25 pounds of skimmers already, and as you can see, he's playing another one. Some would argue that's a bream, that one. But to have 25 pounds of those in this first hour, it's a fantastic pace. Now whether, you know, he's going to stick on catching those, or whether he's catching them by accident, we don't know, or whether he's fishing for them. Probably a mixture of two. And obviously, if any carp come along, that's going to boost his weight. So he's definitely ticking over really nicely. On peg 32 here, he's admitting to 9 pound, and on the end peg he hasn't caught yet. The end peg there is the peg that Rob Cooksey had yesterday, where he had 150 pound of carp. But obviously fish can rock up there at any stage, as we all know. Going down to the other side, to the left of Steve, we know there's only one carp, one big carp caught. It's a 10 pounder to go with 3 or 4 other skimmers. That's Jason here, so he's ticking over nicely. And the next one to him is Dave Berry, who's just got a few skimmers at the moment, which is very much a common occurrence all the way. It's a common theme all the way down through Shallybank. So just over the 1 hour mark over here on Spessy Lake, it's very evident that most anglers have got a few skimmers. Some of them are fishing for them, some of them are accidents, but there are very, very few carp caught. There's a 10 pounder caught by Jason. He's got a few skimmers to go with that. Other than that, it's all about the skimmers and bream at this stage. But even the end peg up there on 33 hasn't produced any carp yet, but as we all know, it's early days. We've literally just had an update for the first hour and a quarter where it's all about skimmers. There's one carp caught down to our left. Jason Cawthorne's got one 10 pound, and now we're seeing what looks like the first carp for the end peg. Looks a good fish. We've heard he hasn't caught anything up until now, and he's obviously playing this as though it's a carp, so we're sure that this peg's going to get stronger throughout the day, if he can find the fish, that is. There's a long margin here. There's a right hand bank all the way down. There's a lot of room to explore, a lot of water to try, and hopefully he's going to land this one, which will set him up nicely in this section that's fishing quite hard at this stage. Big fish. That was the first carp, as we've just seen, for Unot over there on peg 33. However, over on the Burbank, we've literally just got here, and Martin on peg 1 on the Burbank is into a carp as well. We don't know if he's had any more, but it looks a good fish. It's a Martin carp into peg 1. This is where Shemek was yesterday, who ended up second in section. It's completely different over here without any wind on it. It's much warmer and he's got that one. So Martin's definitely got a carp in the net. Nowhere near as big as Unots, but they all count. We've just seen Martin there net a fish, and a quick look round. That angler there on Spessy Lake peg 3 is Jamie Snedker. He's into a carp. Now Jamie's on 2 points from yesterday. He was on top end of Match Lake peg 19, so he's on 2 points. Doesn't really fancy his chances of beating these N2 pegs 1 and 33 that are in his section, but as we know, anything can happen on these venues, and with so many big fish around, just 1 or 2 quick bites can change things dramatically. Just have a quick look where Martin's actually casting, whether he's going down this margin or whether he's underarming. Looks like he's going over the top. He's really punching it to this flat water, down into that quiet corner. It's flat calm down there as well. Jamie looks like he's about to net that fish. He's got it. Let's have a quick look how big that is. That's a good fish. So even after only 90 minutes, it's shaping up to be a really tight section, this one. Well, we're coming up to the 2-hour stage and we're back over on the grass bank on Match Lake. It's very, very quiet. There's very, very little happening. Down there is Christoph, probably doing about the best on peg 1. Peg 33 opposite. He's doing okay, but when I say that they're actually doing the best, there's very, very few fish in it. Rob Bergen's got a couple of fish on peg 3, and then there's literally nothing being caught right the way through here. It's literally just been almost flat calm for the last half an hour, and even when it goes flat calm, there's no ripple up there. You know, there's just no signs of anyone catching anything. It's now, as you can see, really bright sunshine. The wind keeps dropping. Feels as though everything's against it. But I've just got here behind Steve Ringer. This is peg 6. He's literally just hooked one. I think he's out in the middle on a method feeder, and it looks a good fish. Like I say, this section's fishing so hard at the minute. Even decent sized skimmers are important at this stage. We've seen very, very few fish caught opposite. We haven't seen Shemek catch anything over there, or Nick Speed. So any fish now are important at this stage. I've only been fishing 2 hours, obviously things can change, but any sign of a bonus fish is going to be really important in this section. Well done, mate. We've been fishing 2.5 hours now, so it's the halfway stage. We're over on Match Lake, and it's fishing very, very hard over here. There's literally, if I zoom in over there on the grass bank of Match Lake, there's literally one skimmer caught, nothing caught, you know, nothing caught. And then the MPEG there, MPEG 17, I think he's got one little carp and a skimmer. Over here, which is the same section, we're just currently behind Max. Max has probably got, I think he's got 5 fish for about £20 maximum. He said it could be £18 possibly. And we think he might be winning this section at the halfway stage. Just down to his right is Charlie Simpson. As you can see, Charlie's behind the island here. He's got a bit of water to chuck to, various different swims really. But he's just currently casting down in front of this tree down here. He's just had an F1. I think he's got 4 fish now for less than £20, but he's lost 3, just like Jamie did on this peg yesterday. He's lost 3, so hopefully they're not going to prove too important or too costly. And then we work our way down to the right, down to after the gap. There's Rob Cooksey on the MPEG there. He was on 1 point from yesterday. He's drawn an MPEG today, so he was a favourite going into today. And then the next peg is David Wood, who was on 2 points from yesterday. And they are struggling as well. We probably think, from anglers that have been watching them, they've probably got about possibly £15 a piece. There's not much in it. Rob looks like he's casting across to the back of the island, but we have seen him setting up that left hand margin in front of those tall reeds. Not sure when he's going to go on that, but he has been feeding that line. So with such a low weight winning a section like this, possibly £20, it's still wide open at the halfway stage. Well, I can't believe the coincidence, but we're literally just finished an update. We're at halfway stage now. Well, we're going into the last 2 hours actually. I'm over here on peg 33 on Speculate. This is U-Knot. He's now got 4 carp. We were here to catch, to see him catch his first one, big fish, but since then he's had 3 more, so he's over £40 now. That's obviously not a carp. That's a smaller fish. But heading into this final 2 hours now, he's got over £40 now. The only other angler over here who thinks running him close, or we're pretty sure is is Steve Curtis down here. Steve looks like he's is he playing a fish? There's Steve. Steve's admitting to over £40 now of bream. He hasn't had a carp yet. And that looks like if it is another bream, it's going to be a good stamp. Yeah, they're a good stamp fish that he's been catching. So this section is very, very close going into his final 2 hours between Steve Curtis and U-Knot, with £40 plus, probably £45 at this stage. This is Jason Cawthorne, who was actually next to Steve Curtis. He's got 2 carp now. We've just seen him catch one. So he's got one about £10. He's got another one that looked around £6 or £7. He's got quite a few skimmers as well. As you can see, he's fishing at very, very short range, just like everyone else, with a method feeder. So he only needs another carp or 2, or some more bream, and that could put him in the running with Steve and U-Knot. So he's U-Knot on this end peg, utilising this end peg and casting right down his margin. As you can see, he's got loads of room. And at this stage, he's got 4 carp now and a couple of bream for about £45. We're into the final 2 hours now, and it's really hotting up now. This is Martin Carpenter, peg 1 on Specy Lake, netting another carp. Now this section is really going to be interesting. Over on the shallow bank, sounds like about £45 is winning this section. However, over here we've got Martin on this end peg, who we know already had 2 carp. We're going to find out how many more he's got in a moment. But next to him is Mark Roger. Next to him is Jamie Snedker, who was on 2 points from yesterday, and next to him on peg 4 is Phil Canning, who was on 1 point from yesterday. So if there are a few carp feeding over here, then that might give Jamie and Phil a chance of being within reach of winning this section. But it's with 2 hours to go, it's wide open at the minute. Martin's obviously feeding that line really, really short, just underarming it down that margin. It'll be interesting to see if that's where he's just caught that carp. He's just put 3 in on that. We'll find out where he's going to cast next, whether he's going to go straight over that or have a cast down this margin. I think that's answered our question. It looks like he's going over the top. So now he's just set that short line up. He's going down into this corner. With 2 hours to go, Christoph isn't really catching much at all. We think he's in front in this first section over on the Match Lake grass bank. He's on peg 1 and we think he's in front, but there isn't a lot of fish in it. It really is fishing hard. We are heading into the last hour. That is peg 33. That is U-Knot. And he's seen quite a few changes in this last 30 minutes or so. He was late to catch his first carp, which was after 1 hour and 15 minutes. However, we were over there live streaming a few minutes ago, where he'd actually caught 4 carp and a couple of bream. Since then, in the space of probably 30 minutes, he's gone from 4 fish to 7. So I think he's got 7 carp now. You can see that wind's blowing over there, but he has actually been feeding down his margin as well. So we're almost certain that he's overtaken Steve Curtis, who's been catching bream steadily. He must have 45 to 50 pound of bream. He hasn't had a carp yet, but it looks like peg 33 he's getting stronger, or some fish have moved over the lines that he's fed. So U-Knot is going to be very, very hard to beat now with 1 hour to go. Just have a quick look at where he's casting, see whether he's going right down his bank yet or whether he's just underarming. He has fed a couple lines short, and he's just underarming, really close in there. So yeah, he's going to be really, really difficult to beat now. We are over on the burn now for a quick update on what we've seen and heard on here. Basically, Martin Carpenter on peg 1, Specy Lake. He's actually got 4 carp now going into this last hour, but he does, you know, he admits that they are small carp. He's got a couple of skimmers to go with that as well. So he's certainly got the numbers of carp, but he strongly thinks that the size is nowhere near big enough. The next one in is Mark Roger. We haven't heard that he's really caught any carp or anything. Next one in is Jamie Snedker, who was on 2 points from yesterday. Jamie, we saw him catch a carp early on, But Martin on this end peg has just told me that Jamie has caught 2 or 3 fish, so if they are carp, that could really bump him up in the section. Next to Jamie Snedker is Phil Canning, who was on 1 point from yesterday, who won his section. We've heard he's struggling, we haven't heard that he's caught any carp, so that's obviously going to make it very difficult for him to get the points that he's going to need. Working their way further down that burr, you've got Simon Richardson. We haven't heard that he's caught any carp either, and then just past him, 2 pegs past him, is Adam Rooney, who also won his section yesterday, and we've heard that he's struggling as well. We've heard that Adam, with an hour to go, hasn't caught any carp or anything. Next to him is Matt Benwell. He's not really in the running after yesterday. He drew really bad yesterday over on the grass bank of Match Lake, but he's got 2 carp, so he'll be doing well in that section. So it really looks like the only 4 runners from yesterday that look like they're still in the running with an hour to go could possibly be Rob Cooksey, who's right the way at the top of the Burbank on Match Lake on that end peg, and we're heading up there now just to try and get a little bit of information on what he's caught, because that is a very, very tight low weight section so far. We're up behind the end peg up on Grass Bank on Match Lake in this final hour. As you'd expect, all the way down people are priming the margins. They have been doing for a while, some people, but a lot of them are obviously fishing them now. As you can see here, it's flat calm, the sun's out. There aren't anywhere near as many fish moving about. There was a period where there were a few fish cruising about, so even the anglers that weren't catching anything could see that they were actually fishing their swim, you know, albeit they were cruising about, they were up in the water, but they're not even seeing that now. So it's this is the top section of Match Lake. You're currently watching Eric, peg 17. We know he'd got a carp and a couple of skimmers earlier on. We think it's been a struggle since then. As you can see, he's priming his edge lines now, setting them up. But the person who we thought was winning this section was Max over there on that other end peg, peg 18, the end peg over on the burr. And be interesting to see if he's had any more. But when I said he was winning the section, he was literally admitting to about £20. And Charlie on his right, peg 19, Charlie Simpson. We knew he'd lost 3 fish, but he had caught 4 or 5, so he wasn't too far behind. So whilst there are 1 or 2 anglers that have got a few fish in the net, and 1 or 2 anglers are really struggling, they've hardly had a bite, it is a very, very tight section gone into this final period. I've just made my way up to the top end of Match Lake, and we're up behind Charlie Simpson now. Just had a quick chat with Max, who was winning the section with about £20. Charlie wasn't far behind him, but literally just as I've got here, his tip's gone round, he's hooked another fish. And this section is so tight. I mean, he's just admitted to £28, which obviously isn't a lot going into this last hour. Bob Cooks has just gone down that left hand margin. Literally, it's been there about 30 seconds. Look at that, a fish has just crashed there down to his left. That was only in there 30 seconds. It's not a big fish, but with only £30 winning this section, it's wide open at the minute, and there's still an hour to go. He's been priming that left hand margin in front of those reeds, and we haven't seen him catch much. He's not going to need a lot, is he? Even if he's still on that £15, £20 that we thought he was on earlier on, still not going to take a lot to get to 30. So with an hour to go, looks like there's 1 or 2 fish down that margin now, just on the method feeder, just underarming it, using a mould, as you can see. Let's just see if he goes straight over where he's just had that one. Yep, straight over it. And last time it was literally only there 30 seconds. We're into the final 10 minutes. Rob Bergin, who was winning his section yesterday, he's down here in this first section on the grass bank on Match Lake. It's been incredibly hard, this section. He has struggled. We saw him catch 2 or 3 small fish early on, but it's really been difficult. But in these last few minutes, he's just hooked a good fish. Now we don't know what else he's caught whilst we've been away. but with this section being so tight, obviously it could be very, very important, especially as he's only on 1 point from yesterday. They are paying out the top 10, so even with a 4-point score, potentially even 5, you could get in the top 10 with the way it's fishing. So this could be a very important fish for him.
In 10th position, right, on 7 points with £110 and 50 ounces goes to Steve Brindley. Before I go any further, Steve was 7 points, 110.15. There was also Stuart Fotheringham, who was 11th, but the same points, but lesser weight, and Christoph Frakowak on 12th, 7 points, same weight, same points. So that's how tight it is straight away. So into 9th place, again, on points, same points, 7 points, goes to Jason Dunworth with 131.13.
Thank you.
Right, in 8th place with 6 points and a weight of £69 and 3 ounces, Marion Theodore. Right, in 7th position on 6 points with a weight of £73 2 ounces, Charlie Simpson. In 6th place, guess what? On 6 points with £80 and 11 ounces, Alex Walker. In 5th place, with what? 6 points, with a weight of £91 and 11 ounces, Paul Wright. Well done. Tight old match, well done.
Cheers, mate.
In 4th place, with 6 points, with 166.3, I can never say his name, brilliant guy, Giorgio Lonus. In 3rd place, with 5 points, with a weight of £129 and 3 ounces, Janet Solsky. Runner-up with 5 points and a total weight of £191 and 8 ounces goes to Rob Cupsey. And the winner today, picking up the 10 grand on a 3-point score with £64.7, Rob Bergen.